Okay, so here's the season 2 finale of Total Divas. This is the wedding of Daniel Bryan and Brie, as well as WrestleMania. They do very, very little in the way of WrestleMania. They talk a little about the fan access, and how, you know, Ava Marie heard someone say you can't wrestle. And it's a pretty fair assessment. Someone else talked to her and kind of go, I'm surprised they're letting you wrestle. And then, of course, while she's there, she's like, well, I really wasn't here last year. And that's one of those moments where there are lots of women who never got that WrestleMania moment. And Ava Marie is not one of them. She hasn't really put in anywhere near as much effort as other women who have not had those sort of moments. Last year the Funkadactyls got bumped, so they didn't have that moment until this year. At the same time when Ava Marie had her moments. I understand, from the fans' standpoint as well as from the wrestler's standpoint, why there's some level of animosity. They then mentioned that match was going to be 7 out of 8. Similar to all things of last year where their match got bumped. They were then told, we're going to have like 5 minutes and no intros. Okay. Weird thing is they talk about how they really turned the crowd around after Undertaker lost to Brock Lesnar. Which is weird, because I seem to recall, if you watch the Botchamania related to WrestleMania, the crowd does chant "No one cares." And that match, the moments that I really remember vividly is when it was Brie and Nikki in the ring for their altercation, because the crowd seemed to really be into that moment, and the finish. Beyond that match, like lots of other Divas matches where they throw in, like 7 or 8 or all of them, it just came off like an absolute cluster. But then again, if you're given 5 minutes to work a match, there's like 15 of you, you really can't do anything. It's a cluster match. Sometimes they throw that match in and it's just... It's the cool down between your two main events. We saw the same thing in Payback, and it was just not a great match. It would have made more sense to have had a nice solid match that had like like an elimination match where you could have had Naomi, Natalya, AJ, and Tamina. I mean, that alone, give it those 4, give them maybe 10 minutes, if you can squeeze it out, of a 4-hour pay-per-view. Yes, 240 minutes, they give the women 5. Maybe if they would have, pulled back on the Austin Hogan Rock thing a little bit, probably could have done a little bit more, but, it is what it is. The wedding was nice, looked beautiful, nice vows. John Cena found out before WrestleMania that Nikki had been married. Cameron has never told Vinny that she loves him. Because she's had horrible men in her life, but she's never just said it to a man. So of course, this season more or less ends with Cameron finally going, you know what? I do think that Chick says that I love you. And it was a big moment. It was nice. Vinny, red-nosed, teary-eyed, worked beautifully. Nikki confronts John. I was married before, and he was like, I don't care what happened in your past. He's like, but, you tell the people and you can't tell me. He's like, I'm hurt from that aspect. And then Daniel Bryan and Brie get married. Of course, they actually let him use Daniel Bryan. And Daniel Bryan actually used Bryan Danielson, which was nice. They actually used his actual name. It's a legitimate wedding. Now, of course, you call it Payback, or their current storyline with Daniel Bryan. His wife quit. So I guess that might factor in pretty huge into Season 3 of Total Divas, also featuring Rosa Mendes.